Good evening and welcome, a very warm welcome to the 40th CALLERLAB convention in Cary, North Carolina. Today is March 24th, and this is the orientation session. My name is Pam Clasper. I'm your moderator, and your panelists today are Jon Jones and Guy Steele, and I'm very honored that they both have agreed to work on this panel with me. Please, if there are any questions, we would welcome questions about anything. We're hoping to sort of explain to you what a convention is all about and get you sorted out so you know what's going on. But please don't hesitate. But if you do ask any questions, can I ask you please to come forward and use this microphone? It seems to be the only one we've got. And identify yourself and where you're from, because this session is being recorded. So if you want to go home and listen to it later, you can do that. Or if your friends from home haven't heard and know anything about the convention, they're also, they can get the recordings. So just to start a few things. So you've all hopefully received your package, and in your package you should have the full schedule of everything that's going on with full explanations, and also mini schedules. I had mine tucked away in my computer. So just a mini schedule which has a map on the back of where things are in the hotel. They're all in this area, so it's not too hard to find. And there's also a critique sheet in your packet. Now, a critique sheet is exceedingly important. They want to know, the executive committee is the one that plans each convention, and they really want to know what you think. Trust me. I know for personal experience that convention sessions have been changed and planned because of things that are put on the critique sheet. They read every word. Every member of the executive committee, they're scanned and sent out to all the members of the executive committee. They read every word, and they really want to know what you think, any ideas you have, any panels you want to see, things you liked, things you didn't like. It really helps them plan next year's convention, because this convention is for you. It's all about all the callers that are attending, and we want to make it the best convention we can possible. There's also an application. Committees are where a lot of the CALLERLAB work gets done, and there's an application form to join a committee in your packet. There's marks on some of them. There's a few committees that have requirements. For instance, you have to be calling Plus to join the Plus committee, et cetera, et cetera. There are some committees that partners may join and be full voting members of. I'm a partner. I'm not a caller. My husband Barry is the caller in the family. He's on the board of governors and on the executive committee. And partners can, since I think 2004 or 5, can be full voting members of committees. So you can join a committee, have your input, have your voice heard, and so that list is also in your packet. And any callers, I don't have it because I'm not a caller. I don't know, have you got your packet here, either of you guys? You don't. Anyway, any callers, you'll have a pink, if you're a full member, or if you're going to become a full member at this convention, you should have a pink vote card that just says vote on it. But that's only for full callers, voting members. Arlene, did you have one in your packet? Yes, because you're going to become a full voting member at this convention because you've been calling for 3 years, and this is your first convention. You will become a full voting member. So any callers, you should have that in your packet. So that's sort of some housekeeping. A lot of the interest sessions, and it's indicated on these guys and on the other one with the little microphone. I think it's a microphone. Yes, a little microphone beside it. That tells you that that session is being recorded. Committee meetings are not recorded, but most of the interest sessions are recorded. And you can buy the full convention recordings for $25. Now, you don't realize what a deal this is. Back in the good old days when it was cassette tapes or CDs that the convention people made, they used to cost $189 to buy the full set. And the CALLERLAB home office said, we think we can do it. They made an arrangement with it. We've still got the same wonderful people recording it, so they're excellent quality recordings. But they give the home office the masters, and the home office runs off the CDs. So you can get every recording of every session for $25 because you're a CALLERLAB member. We sell them to $75 for non-members, but because you're a member, you get them for $25. So if you've got a decision to make, which often happens when you start looking at the schedule, Which session do I go to? There's two that I'd like to go to. Go to the one that you think will be more visual. If there's going to be some choreography you want to see, if there's going to be something else you think you want to see, go to the one that's visual because you can listen to the other one on the recording. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're thinking about those things. At this point, I think I'm going to turn it over to Jon, who's got some history and some other things. Jon Jones has been calling since, well, he started dancing in 1954 and has been calling fairly shortly after. He is one of only 3 members who have attended all 40 conventions. The other 2 are Jim Mayo and Melton Luttrell. I have seen them both here, so there are still the 3. You'll notice by the ribbons that Jon's got on, he is a milestone recipient, which is our highest honor. Stand up, Jon, so we can see them. He is a life member. He is a past chair. He was our 3rd chairman of the board. He is one of the early inductees into the Texas Square Dance Callers Hall of Fame, or Square Dance Hall of Fame? Texas Callers Hall of Fame, as now is his son, Vernon, who unfortunately couldn't be here because of work commitments. So there is a father and son. They are the only father and son in the Texas Square Dance Callers Hall of Fame. So, yes, John's, that's... And his wife, Deborah Carroll Jones, is also a caller, so you get a dynamic duo if you hire them. So John's got a little bit of history. He's going to explain this picture to you and a few other things to tell you. I'm going to turn it over to Jon.
Thank you, Pam. Howdy. Now, some of you didn't speak. When a Texan says howdy, you're supposed to speak back. Howdy. Howdy. Now, that sounds a whole lot better. Thank you very much. And Pam was talking about these ribbons. I'm going to take my jacket off. And it's gotten to the point where there's a dadgum many of them, they just get in the way. Well, they finally gave me one down here at the bottom. I'm thinking about taking them all off and only using the one at the bottom. It says, been there and done that. That'd cover everything. Wouldn't have to wear all this stuff on here. How many of you think this group of callers that's on the screen right now are the 11 people who formed CALLERLAB in 1970? This was where they met at a Selamar recreation area in California. Who thinks you can name all of them? Anybody? Well, I can. I happen to have known all of them personally. I'll say this. Well, let me go through. Squatted down at the bottom. Now, I don't have a pointer. I don't think my finger will work on this computer like that. That's okay. Right there where Pam's finger is. Anybody know who that is? Bob Page. That's Bob Page. All right, squatted down right beside him. You know who that is? Marshall Flippo. He don't look anything like that today. He's supposed to be here. Okay, on the far left, the next row, Ed Gilmore. That's correct. Next one. Anybody? No, Lee Helsel. Standing behind Lee with a patch over his eye, that is Bob Osgood, for those of you who may not have ever known him or perhaps have heard of him, owner of Sets in Order magazine, American Square Dance Society. Okay, the next one right there with his elbow bent, Arnie Cronenberger. All right kind of behind him right there, Bruce Johnson. Right in front of Bruce, right there with a double-breasted coat, Joe Lewis. Right behind Joe with the open-collared shirt, that's Frank Lane. And incidentally, Frank was not present when that picture was made. He was in bed sick that day. And I'll tell you the rest of the story. Next one where Pam's finger is, Bob Van Antwerp. And the last one, the little short guy, is Dave Taylor. Well, anyway, Frank was not at there when it was made, and so we dug up a picture of Frank, and Dave Taylor put this picture, had this photo, and so I sent him a picture of Frank, and he put it in his computer and got it stuck in there where it looks like he was actually there. So that's how we did that. All right. Now, everybody didn't know all of these people, so these are on the CALLERLAB website. If you want to go in there and look, everybody didn't know them, and I had the photo, and so I gave it to Deborah, and she put it in the computer and put everybody's name in front of everybody so we'd never forget who they are. So they have this photo as well. It's the same picture, just has each of their names on it. This one was a few years later. I don't recall exactly, but if you notice, the man right here, Bruce Johnson, right in the center with the glasses on, he is on the far right in the next photo. Look at the color of his hair. So you can tell it was several years later when this photo was made, and I believe this was about the mid-1980s, and this is the last time these guys got together. Of course, Ed Gilmore had passed away, and Joe Lewis had passed away, and Bob Page had passed away. So on the far left is Dave Taylor. Next to him is Flippo, then Frank Lane, Arnie Cronenberger, Bob Osgood, Bob Van Antwerp, and who did I say that was? Bruce Johnson. All right. Then this photo right here is our first convention that we had in 1974. What those 11 guys did, they worked on they thought CALLERLAB should be for almost 2 years. Then they had another get-together, and each of them were permitted to invite someone. And so Jim Mayo went to that second meeting that they had, and several others, and I think Melton Luttrell was also there. And then they had one other meeting, and they each were permitted to invite another person to that, and so they had about 25 or so people at that third meeting, and they decided to have the next convention in 1974, and this was held in St. Louis, Missouri, and I think we had about 125 callers present at that meeting, along with some partners. And I cannot tell you where Melton is in this photo. I was hoping he'd be here in the room tonight where he could point himself out, so I don't know where he is. But we have this photo in our syllabus when we do caller schools, and I tell everybody I'll give them $50 if they can figure out where I am. And, of course, they never do, but if you look at the sign that says Working Together, the left-hand corner of that sign is right on top of my head. The left-hand corner of the sign, right there. I'm standing between Frank Lane and Larry Marchese. Frank is right behind me. So anyway, that just gives you just a tad of history of getting together and what CALLERLAB was and how they got it started and bringing it about. Now, what I want to talk about this evening to all of you are about the committees that we have working in CALLERLAB. But before I do that, I've been asked to announce that for tomorrow night's banquet, everybody bring a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil. Okay? And pass the word to anybody that's not in here that you see. Hopefully this is going to be announced again in the morning at the opening session. And Deborah is emceeing the banquet tomorrow night, and she's requesting that everybody bring a piece of paper. The little type of paper that you have in your hotel room would be good enough, with a pen or something of that nature, just a piece of paper or a paper and a piece of pencil or something of that nature, so you can have it to use and follow the directions that Deborah will give you. Now, to let you all know, how many of you are new? This is your first convention? Oh, we welcome you. Thank you so much for being here. And we hope you enjoy it and have a good time. Just make yourself have a good time. The executive committee of CALLERLAB, the EC we refer to all the time, is made up with the chairman of the board, the vice chairman of the board, and 3 additional members at large. They are elected each year to fill these positions from the 25 members of the Board of Governors. The Board of Governors themselves elect the EC. The vice chairman and the 3 at-large members are the liaison for all of the committees within CALLERLAB, and they're divided up among these 4 people. There are 25 active committees serving CALLERLAB on a strictly voluntary basis. The first group are in the Special Interest Division, and the liaison this past year and currently is Barry Clasper, and he has 8 committees. Now, this could change and will change this next year with when the new executive committee takes over. The first committee on the list is the Women in Calling Committee. How many lady callers do we have in here? Oh, several of you. Very good. Deborah is chairman of that committee. The vice chairman is Patty Green. And I've just highlighted a little bit. One item, to seek information about the specific needs and differences of women in calling. To give that information to women callers, those who train callers, and any interested callers, and to provide programs, panels, which are specifically directed to the needs of women in calling. This committee was established in 1991, surveyed women callers to determine up to 10 favorite singing calls for women in calling, compiled a database list of these records, and produced the top 35 tape and CD containing samples of the singing calls in the database. The membership prerequisites, guess what? You have to be a woman. You have to be a lady caller to get in this committee. There was one man tried to get in, they booted him out. No way, this is for women only. No, it wasn't me. Yeah, I knew better than to buck that situation. All right, the next committee is the Handicapable Committee, and the chair of this committee is Michelle Maybe. Okay. And the vice chair is Charlie Wheatley. The committee function to provide guidance and assistance to callers regarding calling for handicapable dancers. The accomplishments. This committee was established in 2002, and the U.S. Handicapable Square Dancers provide an annual national square dance convention for handicapable square dancers. Membership prerequisites. An active member, an associate member, an active youth member, an associate youth member, or a life member, or a partner, or any of the above can join the Handicapable Committee. The next one is the New Initiatives Committee. The chair is Mike Oliveri, and the vice chair is vacant at the present time. Mike, are you in here? I don't see him. Okay. This is the Program Policy Initiative Committee. The committee function, continue to encourage experimentation in how square dancing is offered as described in the Program Policy Initiative. 2, the Winning Ways, maintain the Winning Ways documents. 3, solicit new ideas for the development and growth of the Square Dance Act community. 3, how can CALLERLAB promote and guide the evolution of square dancing? Accomplishments, this is a new committee, so they don't have a record of accomplishments yet. Membership prerequisites, active member, associate member, active youth member, life member. Anybody can join that committee. Partners as well. The next committee, National Dance Association, NDA, liaison. That chair is Cal Campbell, and there's not a vice chair of that committee. That committee, the function is to serve the liaison person between CALLERLAB and the National Dance Association. Accomplishments, this is a new committee liaison as well. The membership prerequisite, this is a single liaison position approved by the EC. I'm hurriedly going through this just to let you know some of the committees that we have. Next is the Youth Committee. The chair of this committee is Justin Russell, and the vice chair is Donna Shermer. The committee function to provide guidance to callers on how to call for youth. Accomplishments. The committee was established in 2001. In October 24, 2001, created a brochure titled Running a Successful Youth Square Dance Group. The membership prerequisites are just about anybody. Partners of any of the above listed categories must call regularly for a youth group or be a former youth dancer or former youth caller. The next one is Callers Partners Committee. The chair is Aaron Byers, and the vice chair is Janet Olivieri. I don't believe either one of them are in here. The committee function to develop meaningful programs of special interest to callers partners for presentation at the annual convention, and to develop for publication articles of mutual interest or special needs for callers partners. The accomplishments: the committee has developed a pattern of presentations for use at various annual conventions and periodically publishes articles of general or special interest for the callers partners. Membership prerequisite: a partner of any of our members. The History Committee. The chair is Jerry Reed and the vice chair is Jim Mayo. The committee function to identify and preserve materials that represent, depict, and record the history of CALLERLAB. Accomplishments: the committee was created in May of 2010. Prior to the creation of this committee, preliminary work included posting information on milestone award recipients, list of past chairmen, list of CALLERLAB convention locations, and past issues of direction. The membership prerequisites are active member, youth member, associate member, youth associate, and partners as well. The next division is called Programming and Coordinating. The EC of liaison for this group is Larry Cole, and there are 8 committees in that category. First, we have the Advance Committee. The chairman is Bill Harrison, and the vice chairman is Skip Cleland. The committee function to develop and maintain the advanced program, to establish a teaching order for both A1 and A2. Accomplishments: the list of advanced calls and a suggested teaching order have been revised. I've said that wrong incorrectly. Membership prerequisites: calling and teaching in the advanced program a minimum of 25 times each year for the past 2 years, and be an active member or an associate member, an active youth, a youth member, or a life member. If you have any questions about any of these, well, make a note of it and throw it back at us after a while, okay? Applications Review Committee. I'm the chairman of that committee, and the vice chairman is Jerry Story. This committee is designed as reactive rather than proactive. The committee will listen to, review, and publish decisions with regard to proper and improper usage of any questionable application of the definitions or arrangements. Some of you may have run across some of this somewhere in the past, and we are charged with reviewing any questions that come into the home office regarding that. The committee has representatives from around the world. There are 25 members on the committee, and they are from Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Canada, USA, England, Sweden, Germany, and Switzerland. And so we've got a broad representation and callers that are very well educated and know the definitions and applications of all the calls that we have in all of our programs. The membership prerequisites: to get on this committee, it's by invitation only, because the EC, when they established this committee, they said they didn't want to get it beyond a number that was too hard to control or to get information back from, and so they kept it down to 25. And I've made a note here at the bottom that this committee was established in 1998, and we have reviewed 74 questions to date. 47 were declared to be improper and 27 proper. So we do review, and we think it's had a big impact on the calling world to be more careful with the type of calls that they use and not just brutalize the definition. The next committee is the Chairman Committee. The chairman of this committee is Barry Clasper at the present. The vice chairman is Bill Ackerman. Challenge Committee. I said chairman. I'm sorry. Excuse me. The Challenge Committee. The chair is Barry Clasper, and the vice chair is Bill Ackerman. The committee function is to develop, maintain, and revise the 3 lists of calls which comprise the Challenge program. That's C1, C2, and C3A, and to maintain the definitions of these calls. The membership requirement is In order to serve on the challenge committee, a caller must be calling at least 30 sessions per year of C1, C2, or C3A dances and or give lessons. The next committee is the definition committee, and the chair is Clark Baker, and the vice chair is Michael Maltonfort. And the committee functions to write and maintain the call definitions, including styling and timing, and maintain formation charts that we have. And so that is a tremendous task for anybody, and they have really been working hard for a long time and working on the definitions to get them updated as much as possible. Membership prerequisites, just about anybody can join that committee, including and partners of any of the above members. And this committee also has some resources from outside of CALLERLAB that they use. The next committee is the mainstream committee, and the chair is Bear Miller, and the vice chair is Stephen Coe. The committee function to develop, maintain, and revise the mainstream program as needed. That includes Basic 1 and Basic 2. The committee accomplishments, 4 calls being added since 1976. That's pretty stable, right? Very stable when only 4 calls have been added to the mainstream program since 1976. There was the Touch Family, Pass the Ocean, Ferris Wheel, and Recycle. 94% of the calls adopted in 1976 are still in the program. The membership prerequisites, calling or teaching a minimum of 20 mainstream dances a year. Of course, that can include classes as well. Plus Committee. The chairman is Ken Ritusi, and the vice chair is Eric Hennerlau. The committee function to develop, maintain the Plus program. And the accomplishments, the mainstream Plus 1 program was adopted, and the mainstream Plus 2 program was adopted in 1977, and they eventually combined both of the programs together to make it simply the Plus program, and that was in 1982. And the membership prerequisites are calling or teaching a minimum of 12 plus dances a year. That as well can include classes. The next committee is Committee for Community and Traditional Dance. The chairman of that committee is Bob Riggs, and the vice chairman is Cal Campbell. The committee function provides structure, leadership, and documentation of materials to promote and enhance understanding of the use of squares, couple dances, mixers, solo line dances, trios, contras, and other dances suitable for the community dance environment. The accomplishments of the publication of the Community Dance Program Handbook in 1990 and seminars held prior to the CALLERLAB convention each year since 2000. And they just finished one at noon today and then had a dance this afternoon. Membership prerequisites, just about anybody. Choreographic Review Committee. The chairman of this committee is Ed Foote, and there's not a vice chairman. The responsibility committee functions to review the choreography used to illustrate emphasis calls. In other words, if we have an emphasis call that has been promoted through the mainstream committee or any of the other programs for that matter, any of the choreography that is presented is submitted to Ed, and he reviews it for accuracy. And they're to assure that it is technically correct and reasonable. Membership prerequisite, this is an appointed position. There's only one person there. The next division is the planning and research, and the liaison is Tom Ruderbach, and there's 5 committees in this category. The Caller Training Committee, the chair is Betsy Gotta, and the vice chair is Ron Marcus. Committee function to develop caller education standards and related programs, to improve the quality of caller training. The accomplishments, the CALLERLAB curriculum for caller schools. And a sample of this book is on the table up in the hallway, up near the registration area. If you get a chance, you might want to look at that, and that's where we get all the information to guide us in teaching caller schools, all of us that we have. And all of us who become accredited caller coaches, we have to know that book from front cover to back. to pass the examination, and all questions are in that book, and so we have to learn it. Membership prerequisites must be a caller coach, active in the training of callers, or an active member appointed by the board. You don't have to be an accredited caller coach to get in the caller training committee, because there's several members who are not. All you have to do is just be involved in helping train callers. Next is the Choreographic Application Committee. The chairman is Dolly Welch and the vice chair is Elmer Claycomb. The committee function to review current programs and develop aids. I believe I'd change that. Oh, aids are guidelines which will assist callers. And the accomplishments created new terms to describe choreographic complexity, replacing both all position dancing and dancing by definition. These new terms are standard choreography and extended applications. They completed the first edition of the Mainstream Standard Application book in 1991 and completed the first edition of the Plus Standard Application book in 1992. Completed the Choreographic Guidelines book, the first printing in 1996. Current activities of this committee is a site and module resolution systems that I think is very near completion and should be ready to go real soon. Anybody can be a member of that committee. Research and Development Committee. The chairman is Pam Clasper and the vice chairman is Corbin Geis. Do you want to tell about your committee? You want me to? All right. The committee function to perform research and development on topics important to CALLERLAB. That covers just about anything, really. And the membership prerequisites are anybody. Calling in Schools Committee. The chairman of that committee is Mike Callahan and the vice chair is Corbin Geis. The committee function to encourage the practice of square dancing in schools, elementary, middle, high school, and college. Accomplishments, they're working on a program to meet the needs. And Caller in Schools Handbook. The committee completed work on the Caller in Schools Handbook. Membership prerequisites, all of us. The Caller Coach Committee. The chairman of this committee is Paul Hensey and the vice chairman is Tony Oxendine. The committee function to encourage and assist interested and eligible callers to become accredited caller coaches. The accomplishments, and this needs to be updated, and I will tell Paul that it needs to be, but the Caller Coach program has produced over 50 accredited caller coaches since it began years ago. The committee has worked to improve the training available to interested callers and to make the road to caller coach more inviting and accessible. And you have to be a member of CALLERLAB and accredited caller coach to become a member of that committee. Next is the Ways and Means. The next division is the membership, and the EC liaison for this group is Eric Hinnerlau. Ways and Means chair is Gary Felton, and the vice chair is Bill Boyd. The committee function, the committee has twofold purpose: raising funds through sponsorships, endowment, grants, and other similar avenues, and raising funds through fundraising projects. Accomplishment, this is a new committee and has not yet met any accomplishments, and that needs to be changed because last year at the CALLERLAB convention we had an auction and raised over $9,000, which is pretty darn good. And Vernon and I did the auctioneering for it. And everybody can be a member of that committee. Next we have Marketing Committee. The chairman of that committee is Mike Hogan and the vice chair is Jerry Junk. The committee function to develop and establish methods of promoting square dancing that will create a greater recognition and to provide guidance in marketing and promoting square dancing. Accomplishments, the Marketing Committee is the former RPM Committee, and so they've been working on a lot of stuff trying to get some things to happen for us. Future activities, create new and innovative advertising materials. Membership active member, anybody, and anybody that's a marketing professional, image research, or public relations, or grant writing, or anything of that nature is welcome in that committee to help them out. Next, we have the Professional Conduct Committee. This chairman of this committee is Tim Mariner, and there's not a vice chairman. The chairman of that committee is established every time we have an immediate past chairman, they automatically become chairman of the Professional Conduct Committee. And the committee function is to develop, enunciate, and monitor a code of professional conduct for Square Dance callers, to investigate reported cases of alleged caller misconduct, and to make recommendations for disciplinary or other action as appropriate. And the membership prerequisites: the chairman of this committee is the immediate past chairman of the board, and if additional members are needed, then they are selected from the past chairman's committee. And last, we have the International Advisory Committee, and the chairman of this committee is Jeff Priest, and there are vice chairmen from different locations. From England is Trevor Day. Australia and New Zealand is Graham Elliott. The Netherlands, Belgium, Austria, and Switzerland is Jeanette Storbley. Japan is Shojo Nishimura. From the Czech Republic is Thomas, Machalik, I believe is the way he pronounces his name, Machalik. And from Taiwan is Nancy Chen, and from Germany is Dieter Gorgner. So that's the list of the 25 committees that we have. If you're not on a committee, or if you'd like to be on a committee, take a look at it. And there's a place on your critique sheet and to sign up for committees, or we have a special sheet for signing up for committees. I can't remember exactly which it is. Yeah, it's a special sheet that lists all the committees. So pick out one and get involved in a committee, okay? Thank you, Pam.
Thanks very much, John. And I can reiterate what John says. I mean, a lot of the work of CALLERLAB is done in the committees. Get your voice heard. They do want to hear. A lot of the work is done by email. The committees do generally meet here at the convention, and that's the only time there is a face-to-face meeting, because obviously, since we're all over the world, it's very difficult. So a lot of the committee work is done by email. So it's not a huge time commitment, but particularly if you've got an expertise or an interest in any of the areas, they're always looking for new voices, new opinions. I mean, please get involved. Our next speaker, who's going to talk about a few other things, is Guy Steele from, I gather you grew up in Missouri from this. First was exposed at age 3 to see his parents square dancing. He now lives in Cambridge. Cambridge, you live in? Lexington, in the greater Boston area, shall we say. And he and his wife Barbara have been dancing for 6.5, I believe it was because your son found square dancing with the MIT club, so they wanted to see what it was all about. So they've been dancing for about 6.5 years. Guy has been calling for about 4.5, and one of the reasons I wanted him on this committee is to tell you, because he's been calling for about 4.5 years. This is his 4th CALLERLAB convention. So we have a real enthusiast here, and I'm delighted that he's here. He's attended many caller schools and calls throughout the Boston and New England area. Here's Guy Steele.
Thank you, Pam. Yeah, I was very fortunate to be given a pointer very early in my calling career saying you should attend CALLERLAB because there's so much you can learn there. And so I just want to draw your attention to 3 kinds of ways that attending a CALLERLAB convention can benefit you, particularly those of you who are here at your very first CALLERLAB convention. First of all, it's a great chance to meet and compare notes with other callers. Second is a chance to learn from other callers through the interest sessions and through other venues. And third, it's a chance to find out what the CALLERLAB organization can do for you and what you can do for your fellow callers through CALLERLAB. Now, Jon Jones has given you a marvelous overview of the many, many activities that CALLERLAB carries on through its committees, and I'm not going to attempt to say any more about that, other than to strongly recommend that you pick at least one committee meeting here during the convention and drop in on it, see what it's about, particularly because those sessions are not recorded. Now, Jon Jones probably doesn't remember, but I remember vividly that at my first CALLERLAB convention 4 years ago, I dropped in on the application review committee and sat there quietly, and I had a question and timidly raised my hand, and he made sure that my hand was recognized, I got a chance to ask my question, and he made sure my question was answered. And that made me feel really good, and it's encouraged me to get to continue to try to get involved in what ways I can with CALLERLAB. But I particularly want to draw your attention to the other things that are going on at this convention besides the committee meetings. There are all the interest sessions that cover all aspects of calling. I have personal favorites. I'll mention a couple of them. One is that I really enjoy the sneak a peek feature that just lets you find out what music other callers are using and experimenting with. Certainly music through the Square Dance music labels, but there are other sources of music too, and sometimes they have some interesting suggestions for music to use. I have learned a lot about choreography by attending interest sessions that are on specific aspects of creative choreography, interesting get-ins or get-outs or interesting ways of using calls. There are interest sessions on the business side of calling, how to run your business. I encourage you to look at the schedule, which is here, and look at it tonight and make a plan for the next couple of days. Figure out which sessions you want to go to, figure out a schedule. It's run in multiple tracks. In any given time slot, there are going to be several things of interest. And as Pam recommended, one of the best things you can do is to plan to get those MP3s and listen to them. I get them and I either burn them onto CDs, audio CDs, or listen to them on my iPod when I'm driving around. I'll throw on a CALLERLAB session. Maybe I've heard it before. Maybe I want to hear it again. Maybe I want to hear something I wasn't able to attend. But the MP3s are a great deal, so really go for that. Be sure you attend a bunch of the interest sessions. There are interesting things going on in the evenings, too. There are a couple of banquets. There will certainly be speeches and awards and entertainment and so forth. But pick a table where you can talk to some callers that you haven't talked to before. It's a great chance to just compare notes and see what you're doing. Find out what's going on in a different section of the country. Or find out what's going on. If you call mainstream, just find a plus caller or vice versa and find out what the differences are. It's a great chance to get a variety of points of views. There are dancing opportunities in the evenings. There's a party tonight after this session. There's, I believe, a beautiful basics dance tomorrow night. Late tomorrow night, Clark Baker is running a Zesty Contras session if you want to do contra dancing at midnight, or maybe not quite at midnight, but close to it. Starts at 10:30. Starts at 10:30, maybe it wraps up by midnight. But I think that's a fun thing, so it's a chance to try out some interesting things. So there are a lot of things. Check the schedule. There's a lot going on. There's a lot you can learn. And there are ways for you to jump in and get involved and make a contribution. So check it out. Thanks.
Thanks, Guy. I've got a few sort of housekeeping things that we can to go over as well. I mean, during the breaks, and at meals, at lunch particularly, and at dinners in the evening, introduce yourself to the legends. They really do want... I'm sorry, John, you do qualify. They really do want to talk to you and get your opinion. You are the future and the growth of square dancing and of square dance calling, and we all want everybody's contributions. So please mingle, and as Guy says, sit at a table where you don't know a bunch of people and get to know them, people from other parts of the country, other parts of the world. We've done that, and it's wonderful. We've made so many friendships that way, and we see people every year, even if we don't see them in between. We see them at the CALLERLAB convention. You look forward to it. It's like old home week as we're all coming back. It becomes wonderful. A couple of things that we've got on our schedule, and there are I believe there's 2 sessions of each. I know there's 2 BOGs. I suspect two caller coach. There are what they call BOG informals. What these are is 2 or 3, I think it's 2 each time this year. In each of the sessions, there will be 2 members of the Board of Governors. And basically, they're just going to sit in a room and wait for you to come and ask them anything you want, or talk to them. Anything about the Board of Governors, anything about CALLERLAB. They are there to seek your opinions. What they hear from you will go back to the board. And once again, I have seen personally changes have been made because of things people have said and brought up at these BOG informals. They really do want to hear your opinion. There are also a couple of caller coach informals, and those are for people who are interested. If you have any thought of training other callers, working with other callers, mentoring somebody in your area, you don't have to, if you want to become an accredited caller coach, that's wonderful, but you don't have to. Any questions about working with other callers, the caller coach informals are a great way to get your questions asked and find out. There are some vendors out in the hall. Visit them. They've come with their, their own time and expense to bring their equipment and their merchandise for you to see. Dick Henschel is here selling Hilton equipment. Saves on shipping. For those of us out of the country, it saves on customs duties as well. So that's great. The handouts, the one you got tonight, and anybody who got their handouts in time, unlike my husband, the handouts are all on the CD that's in your packet. So you've already got the handouts for all the interest sessions, for those of us who got them ahead of time. Those, plus all the ones that didn't quite make it, will, after convention, be up in the members-only section of the CALLERLAB website. So if you have not signed up on the CALLERLAB website, if you go in and there's a place for a members login, and you can create a login there, and there's a lot more information available because you are CALLERLAB members. There's a wealth of information available to the public, but there's also a lot more available to CALLERLAB members, all free, and things you can download and all the rest of it. So if you're don't have a profile on the CALLERLAB website, create one. The home office will help you set it up if you want, and all the handouts will be available there. I think that's pretty much all I had. Speak up at those sessions. As Guy says, he spoke up at the ARC. And the ARC meeting, I must say, the ARC meetings are a lot of fun. We may not get to vote on the things because we're not members of the ARC, but we try out things and play games with stuff and as they're trying to look at things. I always enjoy those. They're a lot of fun. And the visit with the legends is another favorite of mine. We've got, I can't remember exactly, I know we got Lee. I can't remember who else, but these are, have you been on that panel? I presume you've been on that panel, yes. But it's people who've been calling for a long time. Yeah, and Carl Smith. Don Beck is doing it this year, and Lee Cotman and Carl Smith. And these are guys who've been calling for at least 50 years, some of them 60 years or whatever. And hearing the history and the stories is always amazing. That's one of my personal favorites. While I'm on the history committee, I enjoy that kind of thing. So that's always a favorite. So take advantage of everything that there is to offer. One phrase you will hear throughout, which was started by our first executive director, John Kaltenthaler: wear your badge at all times, because that is your meal ticket. The hotel staff is at lunches and dinners. The hotel staff knows, that's your meal ticket. So you will hear this as sort of almost a mantra throughout CALLERLAB. No badge, no food, no exceptions. So don't be surprised when you hear that. So that is pretty much what we have to say. Does anybody have any questions? We're more than happy to answer any questions that anybody has. Yes. Oh, you okay? Well, we gotta run around.
Yeah, I'm Jerry Roby. I'm the Vice President of USDA, and I'm from Gainesville, Florida. And, of course, this is our first time attending. Delighted to be here. Question about Wednesday morning, the annual meeting. If we're not members of CALLERLAB, are we welcome to come to the meeting? Is it an open meeting? I know we can't vote, but are we welcome to attend?
Yes, you are welcome to attend, and you will be recognized for being there. They'll probably recognize you in the morning at the business meeting for being here, and then they'll do it again at the opening session in the morning and the business meeting again on Wednesday. Yes, everybody's invited to that business meeting. Yeah.
This is Jerry Roby again. Are we allowed 2 questions? My other question had to do with the banquets tomorrow night. In our packet, there was a thing about for first-time attendees, if you want to get a reservation or a reserve sign or whatever, how does it work? They're going to open the door at 6:30. Do we just go in and find a place to sit, or are there some assigned seats?
There may be some assigned seats, but I don't know. But they don't like for anybody to save seats for persons. Because if you go to a table and you turn a chair up like this, it's very dangerous for somebody to fall over and break their leg or whatever it might happen to be. So they ask people if they want to sit together to come in together. Does that help?
one of the fun things to me, and I think Guy alluded to this as well, one of the fun things is to sit at a table with a bunch of people you don't know, and you get to know them. The tables are usually for 10, I believe, something like that, 8 or 10, that normal thing. They're all usually round tables. Any convention I've ever been to, they're round tables. And, I mean, there is a head table each night. Monday night, all the committee chairs and their partners. Tuesday night, it's the Board of Governors and the Home Office staff that are at the head table. But otherwise, I mean, anybody that's, like the committee chairs on Tuesday night will sit and mingle with everybody else and vice versa. And like I say, that's part of the fun is getting, I mean, if you do have some friends that you want to sit with or some people you don't see very often, yes, as Jon says, come in together. But part of the fun is also getting to know some other people at the dinners and at the banquets and at the lunches. Any other questions? There's one.
Sharon Kopp from the Pittsburgh area in Pennsylvania. In the direction it says the convention attendees will receive a copy of proposed changes in their convention registration package. I didn't see anything in my package for the things that we're going to vote for on Wednesday. I'm reading it from this.
I can't answer that. I don't know.
Okay.
There may not be any specific issue. If you didn't have one did anybody get one? I didn't think I got one either. So apparently we don't have a particular issue to vote on specifically. Yeah, those pertain to bylaws changes or things of that nature. But so, yeah, if we were to change the membership category or something of that nature. Tabled it. Okay. All right. Any other question? Anybody? Are you still awake? All right. Not awake? Okay.
Well, thank you all for coming. Actually, it should be just starting. Next door, there is the High Energy Party Night Dance. So if you want to go, I think it's Mike Seastrom is hosting. I think it's Mike and Greg Anderson, isn't it, hosting that one? Let me look at the full. They both are. Yes, it's Greg Anderson and Mike Seastrom are hosting. It will be a ball. You'll have a fantastic time. Going down right next door in Blowing Rock. Thank you all very much for coming. Enjoy the convention.